Hey, it is Naftali. Thank you so much for joining me on day 7 of the Humans Working Book Marathon. If you don't know what this is all about, please go check day number 1 to learn a little bit more. So today I'm going to share with you a couple of real-world examples of the concept of separate realities, right, which I talked about on day 6. Inventing Google. All right. So it was around 1995. I was working at this large advertising agency that I alluded to in the first video, working on some really giant websites for some really giant companies. And there was, I don't know, maybe 8, 10 of us programmers. We were all pretty young, in our early 20s. And at some point they hired somebody to be our boss. He was like in his early, maybe mid-20s also. Had never been a programmer, so it was kind of just like, he had a good game, he talked a good game, and somehow they hired him to be our boss. And I remember on the first day that we were sort of introduced to him, he stood up and he had this grandiose idea, right? So what if, I have this great idea, what if we could collect all of the information in the world and we could put it in a database, and then on the front of it we could have this like natural language processing query engine where you could ask it any question, right? You could say like, what's the best burger in Boston, right? Or who was the 42nd president of the United States? And did we have a field day with him? We were laughing at him like you could not imagine. I mean, I don't just mean for this meeting, I mean for weeks, for months. How could you even find all that information? What about all the stuff that's buried in the back of the Library of Congress, right? What about all these like rare books? What about menus? What about maps? What about what do you mean all the world's information? Are you out of your mind? And even if you did, you're gonna have, what is this? Like it would be in a database, it would be, trillions of rows in a database, let's say. Now, how are you going to possibly write a query engine that understands English, first of all, right? You don't have to use a special sort of language to ask it questions. Understands English, knows how to turn that into a database query that's somehow going to search through a trillion or so records and return a reasonable result in a reasonable amount of time. We had a billion reasons. All of us who were, at the time, pretty good programmers. We were doing some pretty cool advanced work. We had a field day with this guy. This was in 1995, not 1947. And by 2007 or so, Google really had pretty much all of these features. And now, when you use Google, it's like they know what you want before you even ask. So the point here, it's pretty obvious, but the point here is that our reality, 10 of us, was rock solid. There was no way you could argue with us. There was no way this guy could be even close to right. And to him, there was no way he was even close to wrong. And this happens every single day in companies. And people call it analyzing data. That's what people call it. All of the facts. My spreadsheet points to this fact. No, it doesn't. Your spreadsheet points to your agenda, which points to this fact. You want to prove a certain fact, so you have data to back it up. And that's your reality, and that's fine. But understand that there's another one that could be equally true. Right? Happens all the time in business.